Hey everybody, welcome to Cult Fiction. We are going to be talking about the Acolyte again today. So just real quick, in fairness, I think part of the reason that we're so interested in this show is because there has been a lot of chatter in social media circles, somewhat political. There's a lot of back and forth about why this show is good or should be seen as good, et cetera, et cetera. So after seeing the third episode, which correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, was predicted to destroy the Star Wars franchise
Right.
by some people, right? Some people said, "Oh, it breaks the Star Wars universe." So we all watched the third episode. We're going to do a quick round this week on what we think on whether or not the Star Wars universe has actually been destroyed. Maybe we'll go into a little bit more detail on some background on the show too. But I want to start with Eric because I think he has the best handle on what is actually being said about the show. So take it away, sir.
So, there was a lot of chatter about like this was just going to destroy Star Wars. That there was, so much dumb things in this episode that it was a complete dumpster fire. That people were going to revolt, and I just didn't see it in the episode. I think it was not a great episode. I think the acting was pretty weak. The writing was not great. But I didn't see the things in the episode that everybody was talking about, that it was just like, oh, the death of Star Wars. Like, okay, so you have this like witch coven, whatever. Personally, I think they're dark side users. And everybody was saying, oh, they're going to call it the thread. So everything you thought you knew about, what Yoda and Mace Windu and Obi-Wan were saying about it is bullshit. And it's like, okay, well, why do you believe the witches? Like, maybe they're full of shit. Like, just because they're a different sect, they don't believe what the Jedis believe. But okay, well, you don't have to believe them. Do you believe a bunch of dark side force using witches?
Have we confirmed that they're actually dark side users? I mean,
No, that's my opinion, right? So I think they're dark side users,
and
users,
there's
right?
evenance of that, like when they did the mind control shit on
The
what's his...
mind control. There's a lot of triangles and a lot of their the stuff that they use, their paraphernalia and their their clothing, their earrings, all that kind of stuff.
Not to mention, I'm sorry to jump in here, but not to mention, I think a big clue on that is when they do their ascension ceremony. They get to May 1st, and May's eyes go completely black with the ascension ceremony. And then we also know from watching the first two episodes, at least from our perspective, the perspective that we're given, May's kind of the bad guy and Osha's not the bad guy. And she didn't go through the ascension ceremony. So I think just those subtleties are kind of like really leaning towards this witch coven being dark side users.
So I wanted to ask just a quick plot question. The timeline of this, like this, when is the series actually taking place in the Star Wars universe?
100 years before episode 1.
100. So, I thought it was 400. Okay.
So this is before like the emergence of the Sith, at least as far as we know, right? But the Witches of Dathomir were around a long time before that, right?
I'm not exactly sure about that. It's standard canon.
Well, so if you take Ahsoka, Ahsoka, the Ahsoka series, like the witches have been around for thousands of years, right?
Yeah. I think so.
So this isn't like the birth of the Witches of Dathomir. This is like,
I don't think it could be, no.
Right, so because they've been around a long time.
It feels like, as far as I understand, it'd be around the time that like Darth Plagueis is alive, or his master is still alive.
Okay, right.
So, as far as
that's what I think. I think this is a time where the Emperor's master is alive, and that's where I was saying how I feel like a way you can save this whole thing. And that gets me into another kind of criticism I have for the YouTube community, when they're just like, oh, this doesn't make sense because it doesn't explain this. And fool, like, bitch, it's episode 3 of 8. Like, what the fuck, bro?
Right.
Like, are you expect them to just like tell you the whole story right now? Of course, it doesn't give you everything yet. Again, I'm not trying to say this was a great episode. I'm not the power of one, the power of get it. Like I don't know how
that was weak, dude. That was weak,
so dumb.
Right.
Like I don't know how anybody didn't just go, hey, if we really want to get fucking made fun of, let's put this in, because I don't know how there was no other adult in the room that didn't go, this is going to get made fun of constantly on the internet. Like I don't get it, but
hella
it
dumb.
shouldn't all of your questions in episode 3 of 8. Come on, give me a break, right? So so there are some things in there that some criticisms that I think were just kind of blown out of proportion, and I think are more historical. Like, so for example, I saw some YouTubers like, oh, they're going to say the Force is female. Okay, well, did you see that in the episode, or are you just talking about the fact that Kathleen Kennedy wore that shirt where she had her and a bunch of girls?
There's a lot of inferences, I think, that are taking place because of her and who she is, right?
Right. And I get that, and I understand, and you're gun shy, and a part of that is like they've made that bed. But now that you've seen the episode, to go still balls deep and go like, no, it's everything I said it was. It really kind of wasn't. It's they're a sect of witches, a coven of witches who think the Force is a thread. They can have a different perspective of it than the Jedi, and then you get to make up your mind who you think is right. The Jedi who you have all this respect for, or a bunch of witches who say it's not a weapon and then immediately used it like a weapon, and then you kind of go, oh well, maybe they're full of shit.
So let's
maybe
go.
Maybe they're full of shit a little bit.
Let's go real quick around and just get kind of a take from everybody on whether or not they think that this episode broke the Star Wars universe, and then we'll go back around and we'll talk about a little bit more about the plot of the show and where we think it's going. For my part, I agree with you. I was expecting, and maybe it's because I was expecting this to be real bad. Story-wise, I'm still interested. I still want to see how it turns out. There was nothing in it to me that made all previous Star Wars movies defunct or anything like that. So there's still plenty of opportunity here for an interesting. They're taking kind of a Rashomon approach to the way that they're telling the story. I feel like the next flashback is going to be from the Jedi's point of view. I think we talked about that. So I feel like there's still a lot more story to tell, and that we're not really in a place to judge whether or not this is some kind of horrible, destruction of the Star Wars universe yet. Joe, what is your take on this?
I'm probably the least qualified here to make any kind of opinion on the Star Wars universe.
Except for Gus.
I would say even Gus, dude. I mean, I'm a Trekkie more than I am a Star Wars guy, honestly. And even when it comes to being a Trekkie, like I'm the Next Generation and a little bit of Deep Space Nine, and that's about it. So when it comes to like real
little bit of Deep Space Nine,
just a little bit of Deep Space Nine. I know I'm terrible. So when it comes to Star Wars lore, like I'm not as hardcore. Definitely not as hardcore as the hardcore fans, but even like you guys, us being a group of friends, I'm not as hardcore in the lore as you guys are. Like you could tell me stuff, and I'm like, okay, I didn't know that. So no, breaking Star Wars for me is no, it's a no, because I just don't know enough for it to break Star Wars. Now, being explained certain things, I can understand why people might jump to that conclusion, but not after watching that 3rd episode.
Right. So within the episode itself, it there was not the destruction of the IP. Gus, you did watch it, right?
No. Okay, I watched the first. Okay, this was my plan.
Never mind. I take back my comment. I know more than
this was my plan. So like a couple nights ago, 3 nights ago, maybe, I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the first episode. I'm gonna get caught up, right? And I watched it. And like, I mean, we know from my horrible analogy last episode that my Star Wars world got destroyed a long time ago. But I was like,
chimichangas. It was weird.
Well,
You'll have to go back and watch it. I don't know what he was saying.
It should have just been a haiku. So anyway, like, it should have just been a fucking haiku, and it would have saved everyone a lot of pain. But like, I watched the first episode of this show, whatever it's called. Acetylene or fucking acetone or whatever, and like it's just so awful, dude. And I was just like surrendered. I just couldn't. I just can't. I'm sorry.
I get that. No, I get that. You know what? There's gonna be shows where somebody doesn't watch it, and that's just the way it goes. You know, sometimes it's just not your bag.
Right.
Alex, what did you think?
I mean, the episode itself was terrible, but I mean, really, it was poorly written, and a lot of stuff didn't make sense. And I agree, they have to go back and tell another half of that story. There has to be another flashback
Right.
episode
It's got to
because
be.
they can't beat it. But yeah, I mean, I was hearing for some time that everything was going to be destroyed, and like, I still don't see why the entire common space witches is all lesbians, which is what I'm told. And I don't even understand how people could come to that conclusion. Like, I've actually had online fights with people on forums with this because I don't understand. Like, explain to me why they're lesbian. And all I get is, well, the writers are lesbian.
Right.
And right, so she
They're
wants to
all
put politics
girls.
into the show. And they're all women and there's no men, so they're lesbians. Just like, you're a fucking
Yes.
moron. And I just like, and I'm like, look, I came into this show fully prepared to just be like, okay, this is going to be terrible from the get-go. It's just going to be political bullshit, and it's going to be heavy-handed and stupid. And, it's not a well-done show altogether. I thought the first couple episodes were like, borderline. This one was straight bad. Nothing made sense. I was like, I'm watching it, and it's just like she's locked in a room, and she has to get out this door somehow. And I don't even know where she went, but her sister was there. And then everything blew up because she lit a fire. Like I said, there's got to be another half of the story here because none of that shit makes sense.
Right. I completely agree.
But as far as all the political arguments I'm seeing from all the right-wing outlets, I'm just not seeing any of this shit. And I get that it's not a good show, and but it's like at least which seems like for the writer, I forget her name, like Lena or something. I forget her name.
I don't remember the writer's name.
I mean, it feels like she's honestly trying to make a good Star Wars show and a good Star Wars story, but she doesn't have any writing credit to her name, so she doesn't have the talent to pull it
Right.
off.
She doesn't have the chops, and so
But
yeah,
there's ideas here that are kind of interesting.
Agreed.
And so if the idea is that this is like the kind of precursor to Darth Plagueis, like discovering ways to manipulate life using dark force, using the dark side, I don't see a problem with that. But I see a lot of people complaining that it's
that's my theory, and I think that if that ends up being the case, then I'm all for it. If they end up, because again, if it ends up being that these girls are like, oh, these girls are chosen ones like Anakin, but black and female, then it's like because Anakin, obviously his presence is going to affect the galaxy for like a millennia. Literal planets have perished because he exists, right? We know the story 100 years after these girls are born, and they are obsolete. They aren't even talked about.
Mm.
But if their birth gives the dark side the ability to figure out how to create life, and that's what allows the Emperor to live on far beyond how he should live, then that's pretty meaningful. It makes episode 9 make more sense.
Right.
That's interesting.
Right. Yeah. This series, when it's done, could actually make episode 9 better, which is, that's a big compliment to be able to say you made one of the motion pictures better. Alex doesn't agree.
I mean, episode 9 is gonna be garbage no matter what.
Yeah, but it's something. It's something.
Right.
It's better than just like, oh, she's like they're like Anakin, but like a woman this time. Even though they didn't do anything of significance.
Mm-hmm.
That would be lame. But if their birth, meant something, then that's cool. Or at least it does something.
Right. It could be part of the pastiche, it could be an important part of the mythology, and that's.
I will say this show has broken two things. In episode 1, you can have it showed that you can have prolonged fire in space, right?
Yeah, I was confused by.
And then in episode 3, evidently in the Star Wars universe, stone is hella flammable.
Yeah.
Stone is extra super mega flammable.
I did notice that. Yeah.
Well, this was a different planet, so it's probably like some
Right,
sort of
right. So it could've just been
flammable
really-
material within the stone
Hotter fire.
of this kind.
Right.
It's a paper
being
mache.
drippy.
Yeah. Paper mache. They make your concrete out of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say a couple of things. First, I would say I agree with Alex that so far the writing and the acting have not been any good. But the story is still interesting. Like there are still pieces of this story that I want to see how it resolves. I want to see, I want to see what actually took place here. And so at least as far as that's concerned, the show is successful in keeping interest, you know. With regards to the way that these witches see the Force as threads and that kind of thing, my thinking was, look, you know, in a galaxy where the Force exists, different societies and different cultures are going to come across it differently, and they're going to talk about it differently and think about it differently, of course, right?
I mean, the
So
Sith have their own interpretation.
exactly. So yeah, I'm not put
I mean,
off by this idea that, you know, seeing it as threads is you know, somehow dispositive of the way the Jedi operate. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a different way of looking at it. And as to the question of whether or not the witches were evil or are evil, right? I think that there's a very clear thing that happened that says that they are evil. Like you're seeing it from their point of view, so they don't see themselves as evil, but I do think that they're dark side users, because if you notice, and it was a bit of a contradiction too, the mother, when the two girls are arguing about Osha is saying, I want to be a Jedi because Jedis are good, and May's like, no, Jedis are bad, and she's like, no, Jedis are good. The mother comes in and says, it's not about good or evil, it's about power, right? There's another, right, there's and who's allowed to use it, and how well you can use it. There's another character in fiction that has said exactly that, basically word for word, and that was Voldemort from the Harry Potter series, who's probably one of the top 5 like ultimate villains of all time, right? He said exactly that in the first movie. There's no such thing as good and evil, there's only power. And that whole mindset exists in opposition to the Jedi ideal of harmony, right? And as far as the Jedi are concerned, control over yourself is good, right? That's what you want. You want to be able to master yourself. But control over another person, power over another person, is bad, because you're keeping them from having control over themselves, right? It's Confucianism, essentially. It's like harmony, a harmonious society, everybody's in control of themselves and they all operate in conjunction with each other. So I do think that they're evil, and I think that that will eventually come out. If it turns out that they're not evil, then I'm going to have a lot of questions as to why they have the same philosophy as Voldemort. And I'll leave it at that.
Right.
Well, just be bad writing.
It might just be bad writing.
Can I throw something in?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that line, first of all, that line's hella Sith, just in general.
Right.
But I think, and I'm not an expert by any means, either the Emperor or Vader said something super, super close to that in like the early, I don't know what the hell they're called, the first 3 movies.
That's possible. Then I just don't
remember
it off the top of my head.
Like, I want to say like the Emperor says that to Luke or something real close to that shit. I could be wrong.
We'll have to think about it.
You know, on the political spectrum, like the criticism that's out there, like in the blogosphere, right? You know what is something that I'm noticing especially with any kind of pop culture-ish thing, right? And it's on the right and the left. I kind of feel it a little bit more on the right when it's not there, right? It is, they just want to believe it's so fucking bad. No, like you know, like what Eric's talking about, like there's no there, right?
Right.
Like, right. And they just want to believe it's so fucking bad that, like, I don't know if it helps them sleep at night. I don't know if they get better football picks. I don't fucking know, but they want to believe the shit really bad.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what's a little disappointing, because a lot of these guys, I really enjoy them. I really enjoy their, you know, their content. I really enjoy their content. And I don't blame them for thinking it was going to happen. I mean, you can only have so many years of this happening, and you can only hear what these people are saying as this product is about to come out. And it's hard to not come to the conclusions that they're coming to. You know, it's a fool me once, right? Fool me, you know. But once you've seen the episode, to then come out and like say that, yeah, it was everything I said it was going to be. I'm like,
right.
Where?
Your fears did not manifest. You should be able to say that.
Right. You should be able to say, what he said. Still not a good issue, or still not a good episode, but it was not world breaking. Like if you're still holding on to, well, now I still don't know why, like you know, fake beard killed himself. Yeah, you probably won't until episode 7.
Right. We're not even halfway through yet. So
probably because
right.
he had beard on.
If you're still holding on to like,
beard.
Oh, the dark side space witches called red, and
Needs
you
some
know,
testosterone replacement.
That's probably it.
Damn, son. I'll give him some extra.
If you're still holding on to the dark side space witches, call it a thread, and that means that Yoda's a liar. Like, no, I mean that means that that's what they think.
Right.
And if you think that what they think is more important than what Yoda thinks, well,
right. Then you should buy yourself. You should buy yourself a Yoda was right T-shirt.
Right.
That's what I think. What are your final thoughts on this, Joe?
You guys hit on it pretty much. I thought the episode was a bad episode, but you know, it didn't hit anything that we all thought it was going to hit. The mountain catching on fire was fucking dumb. There was like the other stuff, like the space lesbian stuff, was like not really existent. Like you guys have pretty much hit on it all, except for the one thing that made me audibly laugh, and I'm paraphrasing here, where it was Saul, who's everybody's favorite, right? Was yelling at the witches, was like, the Jedi don't take children. Hey, Osha, May, you guys want to come with us? What the fuck was that, dude? That was like in the same breath. I was so mad. The Jedi don't take kids. You guys want to come with us? I got some candy.
We got some candy. We got a van.
Also, not like puppies. Also, this is the thing that I can't stand. Is like, this is bad writing to me. It happens all the time with. I know you guys never watch the CW Flash, but whenever people have powers and then they never use them, right? So like the CW Flash, the thing with the Flash is that like sometimes he can run 2,200 miles an hour, and then sometimes he can run so fast that
the speed of light,
right, that he can just fucking, you know, go get some shit in Europe and come back before you blink your eyes, and so it's just so inconsistent, right? The same thing here. You have 2 girls, right, on either side, and they're like, "What'd you do? No, what'd you do?" And then the thing drops, and she falls down, and Saul goes and grabs. Saul, do you not know how to use the Force, my friend? Did you forget that? Because then he's grabbing her, like he's holding on, like, oh, I'm holding on for dear life. Oh, here, I'm just gonna pick you up with the Force and bring you on to the fucking the side right here where you're safe. Like they made that like such like a I've got you. Of course you do. You use the Force.
Right.
This is not an issue. In fact, you should have had her too. You had like a hand for her, and then if you could still see her, grab her with your fucking Force hand, bro. And like that kind of stuff bugs the shit out of me.
Right.
Like, he's literally holding on to her like he might, first off, drop the 60-pound child.
Right.
Like, serious right now?
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's like in a land of Jedi, nothing should ever really touch the ground.
Come on, dog.
Right.
And that's just bad writing, dude. That's
bad writing. That's bad writing. Yeah, that's like the Jeopardy that isn't really Jeopardy. It's like, come on,
Right, exactly. The
do
Jeopardy
something
that-
different. Do something better.
Right.
Your final thoughts, Alex. What do you think?
Grab her. It should have been like he tried to grab her, and then something like smacked the shit out of him, and then
And he had to
then
drop
that's
her or something. Yeah, column
had to
fell
drop
on
her.
him or something. Or he had to stop the column from falling on OSHA.
Right, or
broke his
something.
concentration. Like anything, you could do anything. But just
Right.
grab my hands. No, that doesn't work with Jedi's, right?
Yeah. Abba.
All right, Alex, close us out. What do you think?
I mean, I think we pretty much covered all the bases. Like, the show at this point, unless it really improves, I would call it bad. If it, just because we've had two really kind of mid episodes and then one really bad episode. So it's just sort of like, hey, we got 5 episodes to improve. I don't really expect it to probably improve that much. But I mean, it's like I said, I think they're trying to make a good, interesting Star Wars show. And it just, the writer just doesn't have the ability to do it. But there are
Right.
interesting ideas, and I want to see them come to completion and see where it goes. But, as a guy who loves Star Wars all the time, I'm not offended by anything on the same time on the show.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
and I was expecting to be like after everything I was hearing, I was coming in. It's gonna be it's gonna be this and that, and I'm not seeing it yet.
Right.
It can happen at any time.
Give it time.
But
Right.
They're luring you in. They're luring you into the bear trap. They're like, come on, everything's
Right.
fine.
I
I
think
can put money. No, bet on black.
you want the soda? You want the soda?
Actually, for the record, okay, I got 2 questions. One, do I need to watch the predecessing garbage to understand any of the shit that's going to go on in the next episode?
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean,
That wasn't the answer.
I think
what
we've-
question is that?
we've probably spoiled enough, but
Okay.
they're not long episodes. Like,
All right.
Yeah,
I
Well,
would
no, see, but,
for the bros.
but
For the
Gus, man,
bros.
like if
and
you're, hold on, Gus, you've already said that you've sworn off Star Wars, and that's fine. If you're going to devote time to Star Wars at all, don't make it this show.
watch
Make it
Andor.
Make it like the Mandalorian.
Yeah, don't
Make
watch
the
this, dude.
Mandalorian and Andor,
the witch
because
covenant.
No,
this
don't
show's
watch.
not going to help you.
It's
This
like-
show's not going to help you at all.
No, it won't.
Don't.
It won't.
It's only
But
gonna
there's good stuff for you to watch.
There is Andor.
Oh, that.
All right.
Andor, seriously. All right. So the consensus is Star Wars is not broken yet. Anyway, the show is not good, but it has some interesting ideas. So we're interested to see where it goes. We're gonna keep watching, and that's it. All right. Thanks for joining us. Tune in next time. See you later.